offline. Damn. I'm back on. I realized I went offline for a second. Yeah, I know. I'll wait. I'll roll an ad until everybody gets back, if anybody comes back. Oh, you're here. Okay. It's just still at 0 for me, so I was like, shit. Cool. There is definitely like an element of like Bonnie is not with Clyde, no. And she protects all the women in her family from making really dangerous, terrible mistakes. Like she's literally the family protector, and that's why I don't know if there's a lot of single women in your family, um, or a lot of like I don't. I wouldn't. How would you say like not simps or bitch men, but like men who get it or are like almost intimidated and in fear and in awe of these women. It's like whether or not it's a healthy dynamic or an unhealthy dynamic, it doesn't matter. It's anybody in her bloodline she is protective of and makes sure that she's not with abusive or toxic men, even if that means the woman is the abusive and toxic one in a sense, but not all of them. Just like if that is the case, um, yeah. But probably it's probably a lot of single women. Um, do a collab with one of the spirits. Oh, because I said John Lennon gives me voice lessons. I um I thought about that. Who said one of the Beatles was like, "Yo, I talked to George Harrison through a tree, and then the other two are alive, and I'm John Lennon, so I think we should get the band back together." You know what I'm saying? Especially because top secret information I probably shouldn't reveal because I would never want to break my bond of trust, but there is definitely an interest in this. It's a whole thing. It makes sense, actually, so you shouldn't say stuff like that. I would absolutely fucking go buck wild to be the embodiment of, because how do you collab with if you are the vehicle for it? It would be about people collabing with me as, and that's so dope to think. Nico's been the most fun to channel, just singing like her, just getting her voice down, because she's like, I want to smoke a cigarette. I smoked like one of my altar cigarettes to talk to Nico one night. It was so dope. I love how many people left. I'm saying people on Twitch are not that down with the dead vibes. I really think that. Oh, you want someone to tell you to get your shit together? My God. Look, vampire. Emotional intelligence? Yeah. You gotta know not just how to get your shit together or that you need to get your shit together, but that the shit is never together. That is the true answer. The shit is never together. You have to be able. You have to be able to cut people off. Hello. It will never be together. You can put it in a bag, you can take it somewhere, you can get it checked along the way, you can lighten it, load it, repack it, but your shit is never really gonna be together. Just be authentic. I think it's just about, okay, that's not how this works at all. I'm so sorry. I don't know where to put more of my rules to make it even more clear. No offense. Thank you for the follow. I like instantly start being a bitch. This is what I. Anyways, Secret Spice. Secret Spice. Are we gonna go back to Bonnie and Clyde? Because do we want to know the real tea about it? It was not so trick or treat. It was not so mischief and play. Even though they were young and they were teens. Okay, great depiction of it. If you've ever seen the movie Shangri-La Suite, I actually really would even recommend it. I liked it a lot. I love corny coming of age films. Wrist Cutters is very dreamy. Hey, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to like put too much pressure on it or embarrass you, but now you're bringing it up again. That's not how my channel works. I'm sorry you didn't really read the rules. I don't just do readings for people. I don't know what the list is. You just tune in. We're talking to Bonnie right now. So Shangri-La Suite is this, it's like a coming of age film, but it's more modern, like 2019 maybe. And I think it's Violet from a series of unfortunate events. I don't know. Anyone wants to kill Elvis. Like, that's the whole plot of the movie, right? But if you see the couple dynamic, it's like a couple. That backstory is not necessarily true of or based on the relationship between Bonnie and Clyde, but I'm getting that it was very much like that, and you could go and look at it. It's almost like part of the reason she got out of the car that day was because she was pregnant, and she was like, "Fuck that, could plead innocent or something," and but then I'd have his baby. No way. He was totally off his rocker, insane, pretty much. And now there's a heavy protection surrounding her entire family and bloodline to never let them succumb to toxic men. And there is a push, a need for the energy of a crime spree. So basically seeking thrills in like healthier ways, or like, God, that sounds so corny because she wants to be a badass, and she's also like, you should kick ass though. Like, you should dominate. You should do these things and stand up for what you believe in. But right, it doesn't have to necessarily be a crime spree, right? So it's one of those things where she would like to pass down a more gentle kind of wisdom, but she is highly much saying shake things up. Highly much saying shake things up. She is all about kicking the shit out of the system. She would have gone down some kind of road regardless of what happened. But meeting that man definitely ruined and ended her life. Is it cool that she's an icon? Kind of, because then she gets to talk to her little niece or whatever, and that's dope. Other than that, probably wasn't totally worth it, and who knows who that child could have been, but also supports abortion, doesn't really give a fuck, man. Yeah. So if you want to feel tied to her personally, watch that movie, Shangri-La Suite. It used to be on Hulu. I don't know if it still is. Yeah, she don't really think it was worth it either, but you'd be surprised. Bro, I would not push it like that. Fuck. Literally in my chat rules, like when you first subscribe, like you just did, it pops up before you start talking, and it's like, hey, I don't do personal readings, etc. Okay. Um, the veil, the future. Looking towards the future. The thing is, she was able to be a part of the future without having one herself, without giving one, without getting caught up in the daily humdrum. Instead, she went out blazing guns, right? Um, and it's almost like she's like, I wish people could remember me without him, but of course no one does it justice. It's us. It's what we did. It's what she's coming in kind of hard now. It's like, are we in it? Hold on. Let's do one quick 60 seconds so I can get acclimated and see what's about to happen. Bonnie, are you in this bitch? Ah. LOL, your delayed Beatles comment. Listen, I was getting a good story from Queen of the killer of the toxic men. So, okay, this is gonna be really creepy because she is from an era, right? Like we're talking how long ago? 100 plus years ago at this point. So very different life. And I don't know how much this is true. You'd have to look it up. I This is what I'm getting. Okay. I was sitting here and all I could hear was I used to put my pigtails in a row. And I was like, what do you mean, your pigtails in a row? And she was showing me like little pink frilly dress, pigtails in her hair. But she said, no, my daddy owned a butcher farm. And at the end of the day, we'd fry up pigtails. He'd fucking go sell everything, but he'd bring home the pigtails for us. And we'd have pigtails. And we'd all eat them on a plate. And I would take them and I'd line them up on the table and eat them one by one. And that's when my mama knew something was wrong with me. That's what she told me. She knew the minute she saw me putting those pigtails in a row like that, there was just something wrong with me. Oh my God. So when I grew up and started talking to boys, she was really worried about it. Of course, she was really worried about it. She knew I would be a psychopath, so she couldn't imagine the boys I would attract. Trash, so she would call them all trash. And I never slept with any of them, except for Clyde. I can't even remember how we met. It had something to do with a shotgun. Somebody was selling, somebody buying. I don't know what it was. I don't even think I was really supposed to be there. I was with somebody else, and that's when I saw him, of course. Clyde. I still remember what he looked like holding that shotgun. Looking like a damn fool, didn't know how to shoot the thing because I called him out on it. He was holding it wrong. So I showed him. Because that's how we did things on the butcher farm. Nah, she's not like that anymore. That's the thing I realized, that meeting a boy like Clyde, meeting my match finally, like my mom always said, you'll someday meet your match and that'll meet your maker. She was right. I thought it was some religious crockety shit. Now I see maybe she did it to me in a way. I was just a kid. But I guess I always had my pigtails in a row. I always had my pigtails in a row. But I just love this boy. It was stupid. Like she said, it was a crime spree. I don't know why everybody was so threatened by a couple of teenagers doing teenage things. Guess we took it seriously. I don't even think we killed anybody. But if we did kill anybody, I just don't want to know about it. I've never heard Tupac's mom, but I don't know where Bonnie's from, but that is the accent that came out of my mouth, okay? Oh, God. And at the time, everyone was so bored living in the middle of nowhere, Christian towns. My mom was so religious. We didn't even have alcohol in the house. We had wine, and the wine was in the decanter, one of them damn, you know the ones, if you're fucking this and that. It's all she had for her religious purposes. She wasn't Catholic or anything. I don't even know if it was really wine in there. I don't know what she even meant by that. Blessed by the Pope or something, and she didn't even know who that was. I swear to God. She hated when I would say that. So I guess when a boy picks you up, you go wherever he's going to take you, and you don't really want to be where you're at, huh? I knew that'd be the end of that, though. Finally did have sex with Clyde, and I got pregnant. I just knew it. So I stepped out of the car that day. I really did think about it because, I could have pinned it all on him like I got kidnapped or something. Wasn't even worth it. Said, sorry, baby Clyde. I ain't about to be your mama today. And I got out that car and we got ripped the fuck up. But ever since then, I could never let another woman go down that road like that. I wasn't even a woman, I was just a girl. I guess I don't really have any hard feelings or cruel things going on in my life, but in death I found a lot of peace with it. And I just want to remind you to always fight back. Never go along with anybody's bullshit. Because they're just bullshitting anyway. Doesn't matter. If you love yourself, doesn't matter what your mom thinks of your pigtails or any of it. What a blessing. That was so fucking cute. What? No, what? I opened my eyes. I'm not doing impressions. I'm doing channeling, bro. Like that's what I mean. Like I was throwing Bonnie was doing the accents. She's like, "You're gonna tell my story. You're gonna tell it right." Like I don't know what that was. Texan, I guess. Um, I love you. She was. She was. She probably could keep going, but there's not really much to say. It'd be more family stuff or something because it was it really was short lived. But I guess that was the other thing that she wanted to mention was wishing that people wouldn't fucking say his name every time they said hers. That's the worst part of it. She ain't with him no more. You know, looking at her whole family bloodline, thinking, well, protecting everybody, and here we are just saying Bonnie and Clyde. It's just Bonnie. Clyde happened to me, and that's like the whole attitude behind it is we dropped Clyde, we hated Clyde, we wanted Clyde to drop, we wouldn't have Clyde Jr. Sacrifice myself to not bear another man into this world. I couldn't do it, but I hated him at the end, and I knew what we were getting into, but I couldn't stop it. It was a young puppy, stupid. I was in too deep anyway. Couldn't go back to my family after everything that happened. I had sex and everything. There was just no way out of it, even if I did blame him. There was no way I was getting an abortion. You still can't get an abortion in Texas. Come on, what'd you think it'd be? I'd be in prison anyway. Made me do it, and then what? I got a prison baby? There ain't no way. I'll let him drop me too. Mm-hmm. So she sacrificed her whole world to save the world from that man. And here we are, chanting our names together like we were married or something. I was barefoot and pregnant. Damn shame. Yeah, it kind of was, right? I'm pretty sure she was only like 19. Maybe like that's when it started. I don't know. I don't know anything really. Like I said, I read about it. And that's the thing, I don't know her last name. So I can't even search. Bonnie Elizabeth Parker. Should have known, right? 24 years old. I just said 23, didn't I? Oh, she was 23 because she hadn't turned 24 yet. Yeah. Didn't live out her life cycle. Now she's here protecting the women. You need a patron saint? Call your old Auntie Saint Bonnie and say, Saint Bonnie, I got a toxic man I need to get rid of, and Saint Bonnie will do the rest. That's how she wants to see it, but she's never going to be seen like that. It's always going to be Bonnie and Clyde, Bonnie and Clyde. Fuck Clyde. Probably, as you would say, a narcissist or something like that. Shangri-La, sweet. Shangri-La, Shangri-La, Shangri-La. I can say it, Bonnie can't say it. Shangri-La, sweet. That movie really tells you something. Cool. That was really cool. We like pieced out, and then she was like, "I could keep going." Everyone's like, "Oh, so cute. Oh, so good." I'm really glad you brought that up. I'm really glad you said something. I wonder, was her dad really a butcher farm owner? Whatever the fuck that pigtail story was. Creepy as shit. The fuck. Might not. I mean, who knows if that kind of detail is even on the internet, right? And I did say butcher farmer, not that he was a butcher, but maybe a farmer that killed animals because she knew how to use the shotgun and everything. I don't know if any of that stuff is true. Like, I maybe the internet can verify it, but really the internet didn't even exist back then. So who's to say what's accurate? Not me. Not suggesting that I'd be more accurate than any tellings that are there, any semblance of story. Anyone else got any requests? Not so much doing family members as much as interesting connections that anyone could know, but she happened to have a connection to Bonnie. Bonnie Elizabeth Parker. Say her name proper. Bonnie Elizabeth Parker. Bonnie Elizabeth Parker. That's why it's Bonnie Elizabeth. In the South, it would just be one E. Bonnie Elizabeth Parker. I was always Bonnie Elizabeth Parker, and then all of a sudden I'm Bonnie and Clyde. Downgrade. Who's next? That's what I'm saying. It's like, it doesn't have to be like anybody in particular. I don't know. I've talked to some strange people. I don't usually allow people to call deities because deities will show up when they want to talk to you, and a lot of deities are really questionable. So I've really only talked to like Satan and Hades because it goes hand in hand with the Halloween Oracle. But I feel like there's been some, yeah. No, that's what I mean. Like, I don't do deity work. Like I said, deities will come to me if they need to. It's not even that hard of a truth. It's just like the fact that people would have the audacity to even interrupt deities like that, or like just like, I married this. What are you? Come on. Yeah, I've had a pretty rad connection with like Akhenaten and Nefertiti, but that's a little completely crazy. That's what it is, isn't it? That's some next level shit. They were probably aliens when you think about it. Okay, so yeah, they weren't deities. They were just Pharaoh ruled Egypt. Anybody with a pyramid is kind of like a deity, right? You know, there's debate on whether or not Akhenaten was wise, because Akhenaten was the first pharaoh to decide for Egypt that, religiously speaking, he'd only worship, and the people would worship one god. So all pharaohs were like dictators, basically. It was like the earliest concepts of not necessarily colonialism, but dictatorship, right? So all of Egypt kind of like agreed on the general rules of things, and whoever was in charge upheld those same rules. And Akhenaten came into play and was like, you know what? I would like to switch this up, actually. I don't think we should be worshiping all these gods. I think we should pick one, and I think it should be Atun, because he is the god of the sun, and the sun is the reason we have life. So it's like, okay. They didn't really like it. Some people followed him religiously, and some people were like very against him. Mixed feelings. Another interesting aspect of Akhenaten, and the reason that I didn't reach out, but it definitely clicked when I read about this. It was last summer. He was in a polyamorous marriage with Nefertiti, who is known to be, well, she's not a goddess, but she's kind of known like a goddess, right? She was like a queen of Egypt, a pharaoh. That's how I think of them. But she was like known for her beauty. And the odd thing is that Akhenaten was known for being kind of not necessarily ugly, but he looked drastically different than literally every other king in Egypt, all of them. And so people have part of the speculation of aliens building pyramids and being in ancient Egypt is the fact that Akhenaten looked the way he did and changed religious discourse and did focus more on the sun and planetary alignments and had a polyamorous relationship with his wife, who did have another husband. If you look, well, they both had other spouses. You know, hers was, I feel like, is that who not Asmodeus is a demon, and Amadeus is not Egyptian, but his name's similar to that. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I'm like picturing it more than I know or remember it. So they were definitely super controversial. They were like extremely controversial, and like personally, don't even know how I really feel about them in a sense because it is like authoritarianism, monolithic religion. Like that's not my thing. I'm very omnipotent. I'm very much interested in all religions, gods, goddesses, guides, galactics. I'm looking at you fools like ancient wisdom, and it's like I don't even know if I agree with your reign, right? So that's interesting. But I did very much enjoy my time with them, and I think they've been calling me to have more time with them, and I couldn't figure out the way that they were calling. I was a little confused about, um, and was trying to get to the bottom of. And until this moment when I brought it up, I didn't realize like, oh, right. So I will have to do that later. And right now I will have to roll an Adular. So I will be back. That was just a little, yeah, some randos and also deities subject, whatever. Lady Delos Muertos. I have a feeling that people will tip for this reading. I'm going to hit some notes and they'll be like, yo, tips don't have to be monetary, but there's got to be tips because she's come up 3 times tonight, so somebody owes me something. All right. Um, yeah, get cereal. I should have a snack. That's not a bad idea. All right, we're doing just like a little BRB. It's 60 seconds, no more than 5 minutes. Right here. Halloween Oracle Night. We love it. Hello, I'm back and I'm eating chocolate. ASMR vibes. How y'all doing tonight? Mm. Mm. Wow, so delicious. I wish it was nutritious. LOL. Okay. 12:12. Mm-hmm. Cool. What's going on? What's up? I'm ASMR. Okay. What's good, y'all? Woo! I don't know why I came back before I was done, other than to like entertain you on my break. No, I'm just kidding. Just traumatized from retail, right? I think ASMR is kind of funny. Can I just say one thing? This might be a hot, possibly controversial take, even. But I feel like food has always been kind of sexy, right? Like eating fruit associations, it's always been pretty sexy. And I think not only did emojis make food really unsexy, but also I think mukbang made food really unsexy. And I'm upset by it. I feel like food was always a component of art, especially in terms with the female body. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I'm not trying to say that they ruined it, but they ruined it. You know, like eggplant emojis and mukbang just ruined the whole vibe of food and sex being associated at all anymore, in my darkest opinion. Cool. I felt like a bitch doing that. I was like, fuck mukbang and eggplant emojis and then put on lipstick. That bitch. Just kidding. I don't think I really resonate that energy all the time. I think other people think I resonate that energy, which is cool. Please, I hope I do. However, I don't feel like I'm that caliber, you know. So, what's up? Should we keep playing with the Halloween Oracle, or should we stop? Or should we switch decks? Or should we just talk? Or what's up? What do we want to do? I feel something right here a lot lately. I hate that I'm hearing the phrase, "you're going to be disappointed in me." What is that about? Oh, I know what this is. Okay. Allow me to explain it because you weren't here the other night when this came to me. So, all of my decks obviously are based in category, right? And I just base that on pretty much what the cards tell me or how the first couple readings go, where that's the vibe and move along. The Thoth deck is my first deck, so that was my only deck for a long time. So it was all inclusive to any kind of reading you wanted. I used the Thoth deck. If you wanted a love specific reading, if you wanted a channeled message from the other side, or if you wanted just a general thing, it was all Thoth deck for a long time. Then I started acquiring other decks. Got the demons. The demons, I bought brand new, but it was with a gift card that I won. So it was like, oh, transactional, abundance, gifting. These are the money, career, insight, you know? And then the pink deck is the love readings because it's pink. It was gifted to me by a lover. It is my only Rider Waite. And my lover's a Gemini, so he's the lover's card. It's very romantic, you know what I mean? It was a gift, so super cute. Also a new deck. And then yeah, I know. Cosmic Initiation is pretty obvious. But that's my newest deck. So and then the Halloween Oracle, right? So channel messages from the other side. The Mystery deck, channel messages from the divine, gods, goddesses, guides, galactics, like whoever shows up. And then the inspiration deck is like, you know, just general angels. We decided it was angels. I decided, not we, but they reminded me of biblically correct angels. And I was like, yo, it's the angels without the eyes. Like, these are angel messages. Just not like the archangels you may be used to when you hear angel card and you think you're going to get some Doreen Virtue bullshit. But I promise you, I would never have, never, and would never, and will never have a Doreen Virtue deck. And I would die on that motherfucking hill because she went back and redacted all of it and she's trying to get all her decks off the market. She wants people to throw them away. She's a fucking whack job, lunatic, religious nut now. And I always sensed it. I always had a fucking weird feeling about her when I was back in the hippie shop days. I was like, man, I do not fuck with Doreen Virtue. And my boss was like, she's the most popular tarot artist. And I'm like, yeah, no way. Anyone who calls themselves Doreen Virtue is just not giving me my spirituality. And then years later, like 10 years later, she redacted all of it and was like, that was Satan's work and I shouldn't have done it. You should not do it either. And it's like, oh God, good. Clear out the room, Doreen. Thank you. Thank you. Woo! So when I say I'm a reader, like, I know. I just know. It's difficult. Some people think knowing is so yes. And I'm not saying I know everything. I don't know shit in the terms of how anything works or how to get along in this world, right? The things I know is about what they, you know, what they tell me or what I sense or the energy, you know. It's not everything, but the things you know, you don't always want to know, do you? So, Cauldron, Synergy and Healing, and Trick or Treat, Mischief and Play, as it were, restricted Thoth deck to being general, situational, familial, any kind of like drama going on in the life is the Thoth deck. Very ambiguous, anything that doesn't fall in the other categories. And the Mystery deck, even though I had attuned it to being channeled messages, and that's like the vibe that I got from it in the first few readings I did. I was on a Instagram live sometime in last year, I guess. You can go on my @IllyMilly account to see my past readings, but I use my Illness Decks account. So, we started doing Twin Flame stuff with the Mystery deck. And I was like, okay, it's a little weird. I never really wanted to be one of those people, but everything I've learned about Twin Flame connections, 55555 with 5 viewers, I really like that. I've kind of eased up on my stigmas around it where I'm seeing it in a different way than it's being sold to us or spoken about on Instagram. So they're pretty in depth and they're very extraterrestrial connections in my opinion. And I think on the soul level it's all time travel, so it is all very much space time, right? And so I have a new perspective on it because the divine helped with that, helped me see that, helps me know that. So just the other day, I can't remember if it was during the Ken Kesey reading, but I can't remember any other time I was using the Halloween Oracle. In the same way that the Mystery deck is meant for channeled messages and also is used for Twin Flame readings, I realized the Halloween Oracle is meant for channeled messages from the deceased whilst also being for shadow work readings. Yeah. Dark Night of the Soul stuff. I totally forgot about that. I would love to do one of those readings if y'all are hip to it. What do you say? Is that like too intense? I know, and if somebody comes up, if you want to hear from someone, if you think of like a common entity that, not entity, but someone who lived, holler while we got the cards out. I'll be doing this tonight because when I get off, I'm doing a personal one. R.I.P. to our baby. But I would love to do the input of some shadow self and seeing what's going on there. So let me do a 60-second ad break so we don't get interrupted before I get into it. And then we will go down that road, especially if any of you have been feeling like that dark night of the soul energy where things aren't working out, maybe tower moment, looking at the self, being like, oh, fucking hell, like I suck. And some, which I feel is sort of my case, where there's always work to be done on yourself. And there's always things you can learn. But when I was in this position 3 years ago, going through my dark night of the soul, my first real one, it was probably my second or third time, or more. I mean, who knows how many nights I've had. But this was the first one that actually clicked and made a difference. It was 3 years ago. And so as I go through those same kind of thoughts or same stagnant period, same situation, I notice my reaction to all of it has changed drastically. My mind is way more intact, way more in control. And so I feel like it's revisiting the nights and realizing that, oh, we're on to phase 12 or whatever. It's the ascension process. You still have to see where your shadow is at. And so it'll show you, remember those dark times. Remember, what if we did it again? And it's like, oh, I would actually see things differently and probably approach it in a new way and so on and so forth, right? Stop. Ad break. And then we're going to do shadow work reading. Kind of a new thing. I came up with it the other night. Halloween Oracle told me so. Appreciate them. And we're going to see how it goes. Because, it's pretty much the debut. So hang on for about 60 seconds and we'll be hip-hopping to it. Okay, so for those of you who do not have ad breaks, my lovely subs, I don't like to be on camera, but I was just sitting here singing. It's actually a Lloyd Cole song, but it's like, and it's a long, long way down. And when you hit the ground, you're gonna know about it. Right? You're just a punch drunk, sycophant, a little SOB. Yeah, I don't really know enough words, but it's funny that this last subscriber was a long way up, and today I listened to it a long way down, and now I'm singing it. It's so funny. All right, 3, 2, 1, and we're back. Okay, the horns are unnecessary, don't you think? Shadow self coming out. So the first thing that I was saying, and something that I resonated with myself, is that maybe we've hit the dark night of the soul, and so when I bring that up, you're like, oh my god, not again. Why? And it's like, no. It's whether or not you passed in your last one. Like I said, my whole world changed, my whole perception. I did so much work. I took time off. I did the healing. Went through all the motions. I might still be a bad person, but at least I can be self-aware about it, right? At least I can be conscious enough to be like, all right, so say I am the problem. Let me fix it by removing myself, And so when you face that dark night once more with your shadow, then you sort of see, okay, no, you progress and you got to a good spot. Or it's like, same lesson. Have you taken that accountability? Have you reckoned with yourself yet? Because sometimes it can be scary. I don't know if this is something that happens in life and people don't talk about it or they refer to it as a midlife crisis, But I know the necromancy probably had me in the underworld. I was like on a tour with John Lennon. Maybe on his birthday, I will tell you the story about how John Lennon came down from wherever the fuck he's been and granted me the gift of necromancy officially. But I definitely was going to save it for November when it was my 3 year anniversary, but maybe it'll be a 2 part series. 11/11 will be the sad story, but on John Lennon's birthday, which I think is October 8th or 9th, we're gonna tell that story about the head of John Lennon coming to me in all his purpleness. Okay. So anyways, so it's like a test. It's like, how did you do on your last shadow, your last night? And how's your shadow doing since then, right? Have you been caring for it? Have you been looking at it? Have you been healing it? You know, your dark side doesn't have to be evil. That's one thing I've really been learning is people have always thought what I do as black or dark magic as if it were a bad thing, and I just was kind of always like, well, you know, I'm okay with darkness. Like, I guess I'm evil then. And it's like, no, you don't have to be evil to be using, say, dark forces. Just like you can be evil and use light forces, right? So it's just a little bit of, it's about having a balance of a little bit of everything. If you're too bright, then you're going to be in darkness. And if you're too dark, you're going to be in a lot of brightness. And I think it's just really does come down to being that simple and just being that clear cut and finding the balance of knowing that life happens and things still are good and can move on is the difference of having the stark contrast of things are awful or things are so fucking awesome, right? Finding your equilibrium, finding what works for you. And la la la. It's really like la 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 la. I don't know if that's for me. I don't know what I just said. Finding what works for you, finding equilibrium. Um, yeah, I mean, I feel like this point I did okay with my NDE, if you will, and my darkening of the soul went terribly, which means I had effective results, right? It's almost like the worse it gets, the better the outcome, times tenfold, you know? So, we're not. And you gotta accept that maybe you didn't do enough and maybe you didn't become and maybe you weren't at all. And you have to accept those results too. Like, not so much didn't quite get it. Oh God, what have I done? You know? Right. I had a visual of being buried actually, and it was very scary at the time, but then I realized like I'm being planted and I'll be alright. However, it's still, there is a lot um, that goes into being planted, and it's whether or not you really gave a shit. And I did. That's what I'm saying. I took the time off to be like, wow, I went through something pretty intense, even if it was mostly spiritual. I ended up with some pretty seriously physical injuries, regardless of why, you know? Yeah. Never broke a bone in my life until I broke 16 at one time. Crazy, right? Crazy. I think I like broke a finger maybe before that, but I never had a cast. Still haven't. Where my girls at? La la la. Love that for myself. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, it was just never me. Yeah. And then it was like, fuck it. Right. Everybody's got that one bone, that one story. And yeah, no, I never did. No matter, I mean, I did a lot too. I was doing the most. I fucking ran down Dead Man's Hill and walked up it. And all I broke was my fucking spleen, not a bone on my body. So, yeah, hell yeah. I sometimes wonder if I, in one day, just my vision's going to change and release this different landscape, and in this reality, it'll be what I am dead, and that's how I'll know I've transcended. Probably. Something like that. I appreciate that because I am a very lonely person in a sense. I think lonely sounds very sad, I am a very isolatile person. I like to be social. I like to talk to people. I like to go to events and I like meeting everyone. But at the end of the day, I actually resent anyone who's close to me after a while. And I've yet to figure out why, other than the PMDD symptoms make life very unfun for me, and it reflects in all of my relationships. And maybe that because I was in a worse place, I attracted a lot of the same type of person to teach me the lesson that I was missing, that I finally learned this year, 30 years later. And here I am trying to break down or break off connections that I acquired during that time, because it's like, well, damn, was it me or was it you? Because now I'm healing and I'm seeing that maybe I was not the only one, and vice versa for people. So, um, yeah, I think that's why Paul McCartney was like 13 years old and he was like, Eleanor, my God, the things you say, I'm inspired. He's like, Eleanor Rigby goes to the wedding of church where the stairs they were in with a bin, whatever she said. He loved it, right? So, yeah, all the lonely people, where do they all belong? Look at all the lonely people, where do they all come from? Yeah, I just recently read an article that Paul McCartney literally wrote that at some old lady's kitchen table. It was like his other grandma. I don't know if there was like a school program or he was helping take out the trash for, like, there was some reason he was there, but it was not his relative. And he was like the 13-year-old schoolboy. Like, it was something to do with school, and he just kept going back and hanging out with her and wrote that song about her. So, that's what I read. I don't know why it reminds me of Yellow Submarine. That seems like a bit of a stretch, but damn, I literally lived the whole Beatles chronological whatever. The submarine stuff, dude. Have you ever been on nitrous and been like in a submarine? Is that why people like nitrous? I've never done nitrous recreationally. Um, I've only done it in op, right? So like, got my teeth pulled, they give me nitrous, and they're like, "How's that?" And I'm like, I'm not feeling it, doc. And he's like, bitch, I got this thing turned all the way up. I can't give you more nitrous. You're getting a tooth pulled. And I was like, yeah, I do drugs. Sorry. And then I was like, whoa. And the room was shifty, couldn't drive home. Oh, gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense. My bad. I was like high key confused. Um, but then when I was getting fucking done up, when I broke those bones, um, they gave me nitrous, and it was like I was in the fucking submarine, but it was like a gross anatomical submarine. If you shouldn't imagine, don't imagine that. More on that later, probably come November. It'll be pretty fucking wild. I'm gonna try to recount everything, and I guess we'll unpack all of it just together, right? Twitch. Like, what? Looking forward to November 11th. Just kidding. John Lennon's birthday will explain a lot, I think. So, cauldron, synergy and healing, trick or treat, manifest mischief and play, winter, the sacredness of pausing. Okay, so that was kind of a little bit about my Dark Night of the Soul experience. I guess that's why I brought that up. Spider, community, and web weaving, also representing John Lennon for me. Right now, during this retrograde, rather than reviewing your past romantic relationships and analyzing each one of your exes and seeing how they're tied to your life or how they affected you in the ways that they did, which is what we tend to do during a retrograde, it's time to reevaluate all of your current relationships. Every connection you have, whether it's with your boss, your mom, your friends, your children, analyze all of your connections. Apple, risk and reward. The thing is, when you start to realize you need to cut people off, or maybe discipline more, or maybe get space from, or connect closer to, whatever it is, there is a risk of trying to change the relationship having consequences of the other person not meeting you in the same energy. But there's also rewards to be had from doing this, okay? But be warned, right? Eternal love is love, and it transcends physical death. My soul cries for someone my body has no tears for. How do you deal with that? Lady de los Muertos, you put some money on it. You owe me money, sir. Okay, so the lamp remembrance. Put some money on your altars tonight if you're not tipping me. You know what I'm saying? She's come up too many times. She doesn't come up in a lot of these readings. You'd be surprised because it's only when someone is supposed to leave me a tip. Like I said, it doesn't have to be money, but you better leave the tip. Okay? Skull of Darkness, blind spots. So, it's not about getting blindsided necessarily. But yeah, it'll probably happen. Where you probably do get blindsided. You're at your lowest point, and then the people around you just reject you or whatever, and something happens. Blah 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 blah. Night Song, Hidden Talents. It's gonna bring out something in you. I mean, it's not necessarily going to be worth it, but it will bring out something in you. It brings out. I don't want to say the joy. It's a talent. It's supposed to be midnight, the most magical hour of all. This is what John Lennon was warning me about, is that things would go down south if you try to do it again. I'm really good at giving people second chances. They're not really great at keeping them, you know? Find what you love and let it kill you is a way to put it. I don't think you should let anything kill you. I think you should just let life live its course or accept that you've been dying the entire time. Right? I don't believe in that necessarily, but I totally hear where you're coming from, number 23. Looks like you. Okay, so eternal love, I guess, was still upright. So yeah, some really hardcore soul bonds going on. And when I say soul bond, just know that we are not restricting that connection to any dynamic of a relationship. Like I said, the mystery deck is reserved for twin flame readings. The pink deck is reserved for romantic readings. When we say soul bonds, think beyond relationships, think beyond love. It could be love, it could be that kind of connection. But we are focusing on soul bonds, any of them, right?